Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to the Hawk's Eye View Instant Reaction Podcast, sponsored by Revelton Distillery and Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage. Huge thank you to our sponsors, and we have just wrapped up week one. I got my co-host Drew Shipley with me here. I'm Andrew Barber, and let's talk Hawks. What were your just initial reactions to this game, Drew?
The initial reaction, Andrew, honestly, was it was clear to me that the offense was scripted from plays 10 through 15, 1 through 15, rather, that we were so excellent in that this first 15 plays to get that 14-point lead that the drop-off was monumental. Like, I was not impressed with the play calling after that. The defense did what they needed to do. Phil Parker defense, they got it done at the end of the day. 24-14 Hawkeye victory. But the drop-off in the play production on offense was a clear concern for me.
Yeah, and I get your concern. I really liked that first quarter. Obviously, I liked it a lot. There was willingness to go downfield. Obviously, the first touchdown pass of the season, the first one since 1991 on an opening drive. So never before in the Kirk Ferentz era, and part of the Hayden era as well. So good. It was a good advertisement for the Swarm transfer portal. Transfer quarterback to transfer wide receiver on the first touchdown. Transfer quarterback to transfer tight end on the second passing touchdown of the season in the first quarter. And so I liked the start, obviously, but it felt like, and I really liked Iowa showing aggressiveness to go for it on fourth down as well. That's something that we haven't always seen in the past. But I like Iowa taking shots downfield. Yeah, I'm just a fan of the shots downfield, whether or not it works. I just think the willingness to go downfield is something that's a little bit refreshing.
To be fair, Andrew, I thought it was kind of forced down our throats from Brian, if I'm honest. We want to unleash Cade McNamara and his arm. You know, we want to unleash Caleb Brown, wideouts, Nico Reganey, who dropped a wide open touchdown, by the way. Cade McNamara was everything that we thought he was. He is as advertised. He had a great, I can't say great. He had a good game. He had what I expected to see on opening day.
That's kind of how I felt as well. I thought it was pretty good. I really admired him standing in the pocket, maybe taking a few more hits, but not really showing any fear. I both simultaneously liked and didn't like him taking those kinds of hits.
Not against Utah State, Andrew. Like, I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I don't like it from the perspective of the O-line and the running backs have to clean up their pass protection a lot. But I do like it because last year that's just not something that would have happened at all. Like, quarterback play last year would not have allowed for the quarterback to stand in and make any sort of plays at all. Like, you would expect absolutely nothing. Happy feet all the time, throwaways, passes sailing over receivers' heads. And, Cade's threw a couple of passes into trouble today. But for the most part, it wasn't what we saw last year in terms of the quarterback play. So I think we saw improved quarterback play. My real concern with the offensive line, which there was plenty, was the lack of the running game, the not being able to just line up and run straight down their throat. You figured with the early passing success that might kind of open up some running lanes, but it didn't really do that. I know Caleb Johnson broke maybe one or two that went for more than 10 yards, but it wasn't as dominating in that regard as what I thought it probably would be.
And when we had Jason on from Utah State, the beat writer there, he said that their strength was their defensive line, and I think that held true after the initial shock of the first 10 to 15 plays from the Iowa offense. They were imposable. They were kicking ass at the line of scrimmage, to be quite frank. And, at the end of the day, rushing numbers weren't that bad when you're looking at yards per carry. I think Caleb Johnson averaged almost 5 yards a carry. I think I'm with you, Andrew. We were texting about the lack of willingness to run the football. I think they might have needed to run the football more.
Yeah, I thought that was something that they were going to maybe force the issue with, and they really didn't. And I don't know if that was because of a lack of early success or because they wanted to get Cade and the passing game going and maybe show that off. I don't really know what the reason was for it, but another weird thing that I saw on Twitter was Utah State apparently didn't come out until about 30 seconds left on the clock before the game. And so, like, the officials had to go get them. And so it was kind of weird because it seemed like Utah State, like, took almost all the time in the locker room. Like, they didn't come out until 30 seconds before game time. And it kind of showed with, like, Utah State had a lot of dumb penalties kind of throughout the game and early on. And Iowa was able to capitalize on some of those. A lot of dumb penalties to keep Iowa drives alive. I think things were going really well and rolling, and then Iowa went for that 4th and 1 and got stuffed. Where, again, I like the call to go for it on 4th down. I love the aggressiveness, but I think typical Iowa would have gone for a field goal, and maybe that's when Kirk should have gone to his conservative self and gone for a field goal at that point to go up 17-0 rather than keep it 14-0, get stuffed, give Utah State a little bit momentum. Momentum plays a big factor into college football games, and I think that was kind of a momentum changer there. And then the disaster second quarter that we all saw, right? So I think it was a combination of, poor play calling, poor execution, but let's look on the bright side a little bit. Iowa scored 14 points in 2 games, the first 2 games last year. We got 24 today. We didn't hit our
24 today.
Yeah. We didn't hit our 25.
You
think Brian and Kirk are thinking about that at all?
100%, Andrew. We're already -1 in a non-con against a team that was projected to be one of the worst in all of FBS. Like, I don't understand how we went from 14-0 in the first 10 to 12 plays on offense to virtually doing nothing after that. Not until at least halftime. Like, I don't understand what was going on in the play calling scheme. I really don't.
Yeah, and you mentioned the drop by Reganey, but also before
Oh, my God. That was a wide open touchdown. It was a beautiful pass from Cade McNamara.
Yeah, I thought so too. There was the drop by Lachey, though, right before that.
Also
and
true.
then LaShawn Williams dropped another one right after that. Legitimately 3 passes that could have gone for touchdowns dropped. And so I think some of that is a little bit of product of Cade not playing in fall camp after the injury.
True.
Maybe the chemistry not always being there. So I really think Cade played at something less than 100%. I don't want to say 70 or 80 or whatever, but I want to say he played at something less than 100% today, because you saw that he was in the pocket and wasn't really willing to move outside of the pocket at all today. And we know that he can when he's fully healthy. So
100%, yeah. I mean, there was that one 3rd down run where I thought he could have gotten the first down. At the same time, like, dive, man. Like, get down. Utah State game one is not the time to put it all on the line, right? It's not a Big Ten championship game. It's not even Nebraska for that matter. Like
Right.
it wasn't the time for it. I was okay with him picking his spots of where he ran, and then like you said, like I don't I don't want to risk him for the foreseeable future. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I don't either. But that's part of how he's wired, right? Like he's the kind of person who goes out there and gives his all every time he's out there on the field, and so you love that about him, but you also it makes you hold your breath a little bit because you don't want him to get hurt because he's a huge part of where Iowa's going to go this season. So, Deshaun Lee filled in for Jamari Harris. Made a couple of nice plays early on. Had some missed tackles. Kind of a mixed bag from him, but I thought did a pretty admirable job in filling in for Jamari Harris, kind of on the spot there as a redshirt freshman. So I think Iowa they really wanted a third corner, and it looks like Deshaun Lee might be a decent third cornerback.
I think the defense really played well today. I really do. Um, Xavier Wampa with that sick interception there towards the end of the second quarter, I believe. I mean, it was just beautiful. Um, the bend don't break is still working for Phil Parker. It's I'm not worried about it. I know you were when we were texting in real time about you were thinking that the defense looked up to snuff. But I mean, they only gave up 14 points. It was kind of a late touchdown there at the end. I thought they did what we expected, in my opinion.
Yeah, the addition of Nick Jackson, I kind of expected a little bit more out of Nick Jackson, and he was a little bit underwhelming for me. But I'll tell you who did stand out: Jay Higgins. Jay Higgins was
100%.
all over the field. He had 15 tackles today, 11 of them solo, a pass breakup that could have been an interception. Xavier Nwankpa had a pick, but Cooper DeJean dropped an easy one that could have been very easily could have been a pick six. Kind of fell right in his lap, and I don't think he really expected it, and he dropped it. So I I don't know. I just am so used to such a high level of play that I think it was something less than what we saw last year, and I was expecting this defense to be roughly the same. So, um, and I think they'll get there. Also, there's a lot of hype around the defensive line. I think Deontay Craig made a couple good plays. I think this defense will. I think they were pretty darn good. I'll give them only 6 points given up. That touchdown was kind of late, like we talked about.
Yeah.
Like it will count towards them, but I really won't credit it towards them. So, um,
I mean, it would count towards Brian Ferris's point total drive to 325, but
yeah, right. But I mean, it will count in the score sheet as the defense gave up 14 points, but in all reality, they gave up six.
six,
You know,
six.
because
Yeah.
because we played a lot of second team guys when that Utah State got that touchdown drive put together. So, um, yeah, in all reality, how about the punt getting blocked? A little bit of weird stuff on special teams early on. It looks like
I,
they got
I,
it figured out, but it
I was
wasn't a
not
banner
happy
day
with
for.
it. No, it was not a banner day for special teams. No, it was not. Yeah, the block punt. Like, we begged for a Torrey Taylor punt. Like, we wanted it on the previous fourth down that we went for and we didn't get. Like, we wanted a boomer. We wanted to see the boomer. And then just getting blocked. Yeah, the coverage on special teams on the field goal team as well. Like, those are unexcusable things at Division One football, in my opinion, Andrew. Like, you have to be able to block an extra point, a field goal. You have to be able to block a punt. Like, it's unexcusable to me.
Yeah, and I was with you on that, and so I was a little surprised by that. I think it was just I don't know. Maybe everybody was just feeling the game one jitters all game, or just the game one nerves all game. But I'm not gonna project the whole season based off of one game. Does this change anything about your preseason projections for Iowa? Does this result change anything at all for you?
A, a, a little bit, honestly, Andrew. I wanted to see the Hawkeye offense floor Utah State, and they did in the first 10 to 15 plays. What what is going on from like how can you design such a beautiful game plan for the first quarter and just go to shit, honestly, to the second quarter on. Like I was not impressed. I'm worried about Iowa State's defense going into week 2 here, Cy-Hawk week. But at the end of the day, Andrew, we're 1-0, and that's all. That's all you can ask for. You go 1-0. The defense was as advertised. McNamara was as advertised, and some drop passes, some unfortunate stuff, and special teams. Special teams will be cleaned up, Andrew. I have no qualms about special teams, but today was not a great day for special teams.
Yeah. So we're gonna hope and pin our hopes on the fact that teams improve the most from week 1 to week 2. That's what a lot of people say. That's the old adage. And so I'm going to hope that that's true, because I don't think that today changes my preseason projections too much. Maybe it makes things a little bit closer in some scenarios, but I don't think it changes things for me too much. So, any last thoughts before we go?
No, we're 1-0, right? So there's nothing to be concerned about in the current day. But we do have Cy-Hawk week coming up. Iowa State's defense is for real. We're about to see them against UNI. Um, I'm worried about their defense. I'm taking the under if we're talking about betting.
Yeah, I think the under is a safe bet next week, just based off what I've seen. So, thank you all again for joining us. We'll be back on Thursday night at 6 o'clock to help preview the Iowa State game. It's Cy-Hawk week. We've flipped the page. Hawks are 1-0. Thank you, everybody. Wish you the best. Enjoy your college football Saturdays.
Good night, guys.